It's about time that I take a look at Switchbot, a company that makes some really extremely affordable smart home tech, and a company that makes some rather unusual products like a robot finger. But more importantly, this marks the first episode in a series of videos where I'll be talking about smart home tech and how technology from companies like Switchbot can save you money on your energy bills as part of the hashtag Energy Challenge. Welcome back to another episode of STU'S Reviews. Now, for those that don't know, Switchbot make a ton of smart home products in all sorts of different categories like motion sensors, temperature sensors, contact sensors, cameras, but they also perhaps make some of the most innovative smart home products available right now. And it starts with this thing. This thing is the real kickoff product for Switchbot and the product that gave the name to the company. It's basically a tiny little device that you can stick literally anywhere, and it gives you a tiny little robot finger to actuate remotely. Now, why would you do this, might you ask? Well, to push buttons. Let me explain. This thing blew me away on release, and I've actually had a few of them in the house for a few years now. I've just never got round to actually doing an episode on them. But it's a particularly useful product in perhaps the most simple way, by making products that aren't smart. Now, perhaps you have a lighting system that isn't capable of having a smart bulb installed. Well, this can be put on the light switch to actuate those lights, turning them smart, because now I can remotely press that switch and build into an automation routine. Perhaps you have an older boiler with no smart control at all, and you want to turn the heating on and off remotely. Well, simply add this to it, and then you can turn your heating on remotely. Or even build it in with a Switchbot meter so that it can run an automation on the heating when a room gets too cold. It's just so simple. Seriously, the possibilities of this thing is truly endless. Just wait till you see what I do with it later in the episode. But back to the element of money saving. Adding this onto products that aren't smart to make them smarter, and being able to more closely control them and therefore automate tasks for economy, makes this guy a superb addition to anybody's home. Thing is though, Switchbot have grown as a company so much over the past few years, and now they do a hell of a lot more than just a little robot finger. So naturally, I wanted to see how their other products fit into the smart home, and see if I could integrate other Switchbot products to save me money, starting with their smart lighting. Now, over the years, my house has become a plethora of jumbled up smart lights and a ton of different brands, just all mixed up in this kind of higgledy-piggledy mess. And I simply haven't bothered to change a few of them just because of this mess, which was irritating me to no end, especially when I did some digging and found out how much it was costing me to run some of these more decorative, non-smart lights. Right, I'm going to test to see exactly how much one of these bulbs uses in terms of electricity. So I've got a little hookup thing just here. I'm going to put this in. They can't be that energy efficient because they're really, well, they're decorative. Right, here we go. Let's turn this on. No! What? What? Look at this! Look at this! That can't be right. That cannot. 64 watts. Good Lord. That means that when this string light is turned on, it's using around 360 watts of power, meaning if it was on for just 1.5 hours a day, it would cost me £5 a month or £60 a year, which is a ridiculous amount considering how dim these dumb smart bulbs are. Now, each of the Switchbot smart bulbs, however, run at just 10 watts on their brightest setting, meaning that a whole string runs less wattage than just one of those regular bulbs. And they're brighter. And they're smart. And because of this fact, this string light fitting with Switchbot smart bulbs installed instead would cost me just 91 pence per month to run for the same length of time, or £10 for an entire year, saving me a massive 50 quid on my electric bill. And given that these bulbs cost just £11.99 each, this entire 6-bulb arrangement will pay for itself in just over a year. And not only this, but perhaps the absolute cherry on top of the cake is the fact that these bulbs have real-time energy monitoring within the app. So you can see exactly how much energy you've used in the past day, week and month, giving you a much tighter control of your energy usage. Now, the inbuilt energy monitoring is a feature I've not seen before in a smart bulb, and a feature I keep asking for smart home products to have. It just so happens that Switchbot have actually decided to do it. So with that, and with the knowledge that I'm going to be able to save myself a ton of money, I got stuck in straight away and breaking every health and safety code in the book to change almost every light bulb in the house for a Switchbot bulb. Now they do both E27 and B22 bulbs, so they fit a majority of lights. The only thing missing here really is an E14 for small lamps, but thankfully only 2 of my lamps have E14 fittings. Every other fitting is a main type of E27 or B22, so away they go and Switchbot goes in. The colour saturation and hue of these bulbs is very, very good, and the greens, which often smart bulbs seem to oddly struggle with, is actually excellent with the Switchbot bulbs. And there's a ton of settings you can do here and play around with within the app, such as sync groups of bulbs together for easier control, and the ability to play around with lighting effects such as fading or strobing or making your own, which is quite cool. And overall, the quality is excellent. They also have music control too, although the music control does require your phone to be open and on the Switchbot app for microphone access, which is a bit of a downside. In my eyes, it would probably be better if it could sync with the service you're listening to for direct connection and reaction. Now, what the actual lifespan of these is, I don't know, but on paper, the quoted usage time is 25,000 hours of use, so you'll get many, many years of use out of these. So they'll definitely pay for themselves. So, with robot fingers fingering all my dumb buttons and all my lights now able to trigger seizures with flashing lighting effects, I started to get into a bit of a craze for Switchbot, and I wanted to find more ways to integrate. Now, I mentioned earlier about the Switchbot meters. Well, already in a drunken Switchbot days, I thought I'd install one into a bunch of places around the house, and more importantly around the country club, to get temperature and humidity readings throughout. These couldn't be simpler to use. Simply open the box, stick it on something using the inbuilt magnet or mounting plate, and it works pretty much immediately. This simple and relatively inexpensive addition to my setup has perhaps saved me the most amount of money. It's meant that I can now automate my climate control, something which is renowned to cost the most in respect to energy usage. Now, my entire editing suite has no central heating. Instead, it uses a simple oil radiator with no smart control. However, by adding a smart plug to this and using the Switchbot meters to trigger routines through IFTTT, I can set it to turn on when the temperature is cold or falls below a set level, and off when it's warm and the temperature exceeds a set level, all using the data that the Switchbot meters collect. Because of this, I'm going to be able to save an absolute bucket load on my electricity. And that's because I'm not going to be paying through the nose for heating that's just not needed. And when a radiator draws 2,000 watts of energy, that means for every hour heating the room, it's going to be costing around 70 pence. So cutting it off automatically and setting temperature triggers means that I can minimize any lost cost. And it's the same with humidity. If higher levels are reached, it will turn on the dehumidifier. Switchbot currently sells a humidifier, mind, but no dehumidifier. And unfortunately, I live in Wales, which is the wettest country on the planet. It's like water world over here for about 8 months of the year, and I've even got the gills to prove it. So, Switchbot, please make me a dehumidifier. Anyway, if all of this wasn't enough, I thought I'd add a few other pieces of the puzzle from Switchbot to save me even more money. Now, let it be known that I'm an absolute nightmare for leaving lights and all amounts of electronics on in the house. In fact, I've been like this forever. I distinctly remember my father complaining somewhat about leaving the lights on when I was a kid, and that hasn't changed at all. He still complains about it now. No, I do leave the stuff on. I leave lights on, monitors on, TVs on, heaters on, even when I leave the rooms. So, one simple product added to my system in the editing suite now acts as a kill command to pretty much every electronic device that I've left on. And that is the Switchbot motion sensor. This simple £30 product will save me an absolute fortune, because if I leave the editing studio, I've set this so if it doesn't detect motion for 30 minutes, the 2 monitors, 2 sets of power speakers, 4 lights, the heater, and a few extra peripherals all shut off automatically. Excluding the heater, the rest of the things have a combined draw of around 310 watts at the very least, and leaving them on was costing me about another 20 quid a month at bare minimum. So in just 1 month, this motion sensor pretty much pays for itself. There was a problem here though. Every time I left the editing suite, every time I would return, I would have to turn everything on again by either manually doing it or by speaking to Alexa, which is a pain in the bum because we all know that Alexa is becoming increasingly deaf with age. Either that or she's very upset I've been flirting with Home Assistant on the side. But anyway, to solve this problem and to avoid getting into a row with Alexa, I thought I would stick a Switchbot contact sensor on the door so that when I come back into the room, it will automatically turn everything back on to exactly how I left it. Which is just awesome. And the contact sensor also has the added benefit of being able to notify me if I leave the door open. And this is another way it saves me money, because by leaving the door open, I'm losing heat, which costs more than to reheat. So by getting a notification, it means that if I've accidentally left the door open, I can run back to the editing suite and shut that door to retain my energy and retain my British pounds. Now, talking about retaining heat, there are many properties in the UK that have poor insulation when it comes to windows, and curtains are a big part of keeping the heat into your rooms if your windows are a source of cold spots. Now, the Switchbot curtain device is another fantastic way of saving money through automation here, because you can turn almost any pair of curtains into smart curtains by simply dropping this device onto your pole and you're done. If that wasn't smart enough for you, these can be powered through solar panels, which in turn means that you're going to be getting better heat efficiency through closing those curtains when it gets a bit colder, whilst also getting free smart home control by energy from the sun. And here is where I woke up from my haze and decided to stop replacing things with Switchbot kit, because I realised if I continued on going, I'd have had to start replacing my own fingers with Switchbot fingers. Hopefully though, you can now see that by using the Switchbot kit, I'm actually going to be saving a hell of a lot of money on my electricity bill this winter. And yes, of course, the same could be said about all smart home tech, but Switchbot do have a few of those niche products that aren't available anywhere else, like the robot finger. And combining these with the more regular automation tech that Switchbot makes, it makes Switchbot a really powerful system to use to truly automate even the most dumb aspects of your house. I mean, they do so much that I've only really just scratched the surface of their tech and what they can do. They even have indoor security cameras and remote door locks. And in respect to cost, their entire lineup is relatively reasonably priced too, which makes it affordable to kit your entire house out, and in turn allowing you to see savings much quicker. And like I said, some of the stuff I've installed today will pay for itself in no time at all, so in my eyes it's absolutely a worthwhile investment of time to do it. Not to mention that now my entire smart home is significantly less truncated, having replaced many of the varying assorted brands of bulbs. But it's hard to say, I guess, exactly how much I'm going to save this winter, but using some of the figures that I've spoken about today, I'd estimate on just electricity alone I could be saving somewhere around £40 every single month. And over the course of the year, I could end up saving around £500 with these very simple and inexpensive additions to my smart home setup, which is incredible. Now, this episode has been in partnership, as I said at the beginning, with IFTTT and all of the guys taking part in the hashtag Energy Challenge. And you know what? I'm super glad that Brian over at Automate Your Life challenged me to take part in this, because he saved me a bucket load of money. So Brian, when you do get over here to the UK, I do owe you a fine glass of whiskey. My challenge to you guys is to do the same. We're getting to a point now where the cost of energy is just getting out of hand. So invest a bit now on getting some smart home tech like I've shown you today from Switchbot. Set up those automations, and I promise you, if you set them up like I have, then all the kit you could buy will have paid for itself within the year. And at the very least, I hope you found some inspiration in today's episode on how you can save some money. And if you do want to take a look at any of the Switchbot kit that I've shown today, I'll drop a link in the description. And I want to warn you guys that this won't be my last video on energy saving and saving money through smart home tech. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more episodes when they land if you do want to save money on your electricity bill. But wait 1 second, we are not done just yet. There is one last thing that I've wanted to try with the Switchbot that I've been dreaming of for quite some time. So let's go and find out if it works. This is an Audi TT, an old one with no form of remote locking whatsoever. And I've installed a Switchbot on the inside of the car on the locking mechanism to see whether or not it can push the button and unlock it from the inside, hence making it a remote unlock with my phone. Now, just to prove to you it's still locked, take a look at this. Still locked. Here it goes. Did you hear it? Look at that. Remote unlocking.